Hey y'all, what up though? Your boy E-Buck in the building. What's happening? Hopefully everybody's having a good week so far. And we are here tonight to talk sports on the show known as the Big Buck Sports Report. Now it's been a while since we did Big Buck Sports Report, but that's happening because one, got to start getting more of them in. You get a little different perspective doing this particular show. And two, basically had some issues this week. Our good buddy Hugh Lee unable to do the show today, but fear not. He should be back next week, not only doing his own show known as the Guru Sports Perspective, but also we'll be back with the Guru Sports Session as well. In the meanwhile, we will entertain you with my personal thoughts on a lot of the sports and what's going on with them. Shout out to Big Joe that's in the building. What's going on, Joe? Thank you for checking in as always. Appreciate you, my guy. We're going to start out, as you see, we got the pod studio set up for basketball because, as you know, the big sports report on right now is, of course, the tournament, which is actually technically going on right now because we have the first four tournaments going on before the big start tomorrow. They've been doing this for about a decade now, their first four. And to be honest, most people not really interested in the games. Pretty much the teams that play in these usually make it to the 64 and get their butts whooped that next round, considering that usually two of those teams are the team that's going to be a number 16 seed against one of the number one seeds, and that usually don't go too well. It's only been a couple number one seeds that then lost in the first round. And then, of course, we have the 6 and 11 seeds that they've been kind of working with that. Don't too much make too big a difference. Until we actually get one of these teams get to like a final four or actually win it all, these first four are probably not that big a deal. That being said, we are going to focus on not only the men's tourney, but the women's tourney also. So check it out. Let's talk about both of them, shall we? Understand this year, unlike most years, you usually have a dominant team on either the men's or women's side that you definitely are feeling like, yeah, that team probably gonna win it, but they're gonna have to work out the few rounds until they get there. This year, I think we can safely say on both the men's and the women's side, there is no clear cut, definite, okay, pick them to win, them against the field, that type of stuff. I don't think we get that vibe this year, which makes this tournament a bit more interesting in that, who gonna win this thing? Who gonna get to the final four, Sweet 16 and whatnot? Now that being said, we get into the first round starting tomorrow, starting with the men's. I like how now pretty much they got the men going on Thursday, Saturday, and the women on Friday, Sunday, and pretty much working it out that way. And it's a good thing. Well, no. Hold on. I'm forgetting. This is the first round. So basically, let me rewind that. We do have men's games Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday this weekend. And the women got games Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. That's how that works. So yeah, there will be times during the weekend where you can watch either a men's game or a women's game, or if you got the packages as they are set up on YouTube TV and a couple of other ones, you can watch both, which is kind of cool. I would not mind that. I'm gonna peek in here and there myself in between getting work done and whatnot. But I am definitely looking forward to the tournament. It used to be a time that I would basically take this day off if I could and just watch that first day of tourney all day from noon to whatever. Keeping in mind that was back early 2000s, 90s when the technology wasn't quite what it is now. You can pretty much record everything and you're pretty much gonna get highlights for those people that are not able to sit through all the games and whatnot. Of course, they have the different little studio shows where they'll do the highlights, but you can actually go on YouTube and look up pretty much NCAA tournament, and it'll pretty much take you to whatever game you want to watch and give you like a nice little condensed 10-minute, 12-minute version. We talk about that all the time here on the network because, some of y'all, you're busy. Ain't got time to go on and check out all the games like that. But at least that way, that'll give you a little inkling into what transpired in the game of your choice. Now, of course, for you big gambling folks, I think this is probably the best it has ever been where you can go on, the site of your choice, FanDuel, uh, Cash, whatever it is, and bet the games of your choice, bet them all, bet to see who's going to win it all, bet to see who's going to make Sweet 16s, on and so forth. A lot of side and prop bets as well. So it's a good time to get your gamble on. I would say probably outside of Super Bowls and NFL type stuff, this is probably the biggest gambling weekend that there is in terms of sports gambling, if that's your thing. You know what I'm saying? Now, as I said, I don't think there's any clear cut winner early on, but if you look at the various sites and whatnot, they pretty much give you the odds on who they think will probably win it. On the men's side, a lot of people got either Duke or Houston or Auburn. Basically, most of the teams that's been in the top five the last couple of weeks, they are picking some combination of them to be the winner. Understand the last 2 years we have had UConn, the UConn men Huskies, as the national champion. Not quite as good a team this year. They are definitely in the tournament. Personally, I don't think I picked them to go past the Sweet 16 this year. Just not consistent enough play. They have some good games where they play some decent defense and shoot, but I don't think they got what it takes to pull it off to even get to the Final Four, let alone three-peat as national champion. Keeping in mind that only one team has ever done so on the men's side. That, of course, is the UCLA Bruins, who went on to do it 8 times in a row. And, of course, that was back in the days of Lou Alcindor and, of course, the redhead child himself, Bill Walton. Don't have teams like that this year. Don't really have players like that per se. Of course, there are some players to watch in the tournament on the men's side. You got people like Ace Bailey for Rutgers. You, of course, got the kid that everybody's talking about, Cooper Flagg, for Duke, keeping in mind that he got hurt last week in the tournament down there in the ACC, and he is a game time decision for tomorrow. In the first, I think they play Friday even. In the first round, but keep in mind they're number 1 seed playing 16 seed. I myself, if he's any type of still sore or hurt with the ankle injury, would not play him. Definitely would not, keeping in mind that beyond this, he is probably, more than likely, 95% sure to be the number 1 overall pick in this year's draft, and you do not want to mess up anything that's going to cost him the big money that he is going to be making soon and very soon. So there's that. Keep in mind, Duke still has a pretty good team without him. A lot of good bigs on that team. Good swingmen. They definitely are looking like a team that probably will make the Final Four. I do believe I have them making it. I also have Florida. That's another team that a lot of people are big on the men's side. Florida, number 1 ranked team in the country right now as it stands. Florida basically got pretty much everything you're looking for in terms of a good squad, good guard play, good big men play, good defensive play. They're a very, very solid team, but not the type of team where I would say it's definitely them and the rest of the field. So looking forward to seeing how that goes for men. Like I said, men games been better this year than last year, I would say, overall. Keep in mind, if you are an SEC fan, you should recognize a lot of the teams in the tournament because they got the majority of their teams in the tournament. I think it's like 18 teams now in the SEC, about 12 to 14 of them made the tourney. On the Big Ten side, it's more like 9 or 10. And then, of course, everybody else and how that trickles down. So, are there any major teams to look out for in terms of upsets and whatnot? Maybe not in terms of like the lower seeds. Remember last year you had a team like North Carolina State kind of come out the blue and made it to a Final Four out of nowhere. The bracket is set up good for them in the end. Remember you had teams like Oakland make it farther than you thought they should have and whatnot. Don't think we're going to get a lot of that this year on the men's side. Actually, I don't think we're going to get a lot of that on the women's side either. But teams to watch out for that's not really in that cluster per se, a team like Michigan State. A lot of people liking Michigan State to at least make it to the Final Four. Keep in mind they had a pretty good record. Didn't do quite so well in the tourney, that is the Big Ten tourney, but overall did win the Big Ten regular season. Very solid team, not a team that's going to overwhelm you in terms of star power. They kind of pretty much a us against the world type of group. But of course, that is just how Coach Izzo over there likes him. Coach Izzo is, of course, one of the premier coaches in college basketball. So, yeah, definitely keep an eye on them. Another team that you might want to check out is the St. John's team over there in the Big East, run by Rick Pitino, who just basically keeps finding teams and making them winners, man. He's been doing this thing for over 40 years now. Going back to his days in Providence and Kentucky. And remember, he even spent some time coaching in the NBA. So I don't put nothing past him. Like I said, I watched quite a few St. John's games this year. Very good team, St. John's, particularly defensively. And the thing I like about them, they're not a big three-point shooting team. So they don't necessarily have to get into that battle with you. But if they do have to make a few, they can make a few. R.J. Lewis is the best player on that team. He is definitely a lottery pick, about 6'7", good two-way player, particularly good in the mid-range. You want to check him out. Don't sleep on the Michigan Wolverines, okay? Good team there. Keep in mind, the thing you would like about Michigan is the fact that they have pretty much 2 7-footers that are very versatile, particularly that kid Wolf, Danny Wolf, who is making a name for himself this season and probably has played his way into the lottery, being pretty much like a 7-footer with guard skills. You just have to witness it for yourself. When him and that dude Vlad Golden get together and play the high-low game, it's not a team in the country that can really stop that when it's on. The key for them is to make quality shots when those two aren't able to, and sometimes they can, and sometimes so much. Good defensive teams, them too, though. So another team you might want to watch. And like I said, there's bits and pieces in there. I mean, of course, there's the names you recognize. Teams like North Carolina, who barely got in the tournament, actually won one of the first 4 games last night to get in by convincing fashion. Don't be surprised they make a little run to the Sweet 16. I can see it. Also, teams like Gonzaga, who ain't been quite the Gonzaga we used to, but Gonzaga they usually find a way to make it interesting for a couple games. So who knows? And Houston, it's like Houston been a very good team for a long time. Because keep in mind, in terms of the tournament, they are the oldest team in the tournament. In fact, I saw a statistic that showed that they are pretty much overall in terms of starting 5 around the same age as the starting 5 of the OKC Thunder. Imagine that. There's actually people on that team in Houston, 24, 25 years old, because they took full advantage of the COVID year and the extra year here and there. So a lot of super seniors on that squad. So they could make it interesting because of that. But yeah, definitely looking forward to that in terms of the men. Now let's talk about the women's tourney for a minute, shall we? And I completely missed the banner. Let's throw that up there. There you go. Talking tourney right now here on the show. I don't see any comments at the moment, but keep in mind this is being recorded live. If you want to chime in later on, feel free to do so. If you want to chime in now, it's best to hit the YouTube page. That's Nighthawk Network Detroit. And we can post your live comments. If not, I am tuned in on the Facebook page. And if you pop in on there and comment, I can at least read your comments and talk about them here on the air. Anyway, right now we're talking tournament, some of our expectations and whatnot. I was not going to sit here and bore you with, okay, I picked this team in round 1. They're going to beat that team in round 1. I picked this team. No, it's like too many games for that. When we get to the Sweet 16, perhaps we will break it down that way. Less games to kind of bog up the thing with, but this week, no, we're not going to do that to you. This is going to basically talk about tournament in general. And right now, we're talking women's tourney. Now, like I said, very good teams on the women's side, probably more so than the men's side, but not a definitive number 1 in my eyes in terms of, okay, this the team and everybody else going to try to beat them. Several good teams this year on the women's side. Usually it's just like 2 or 3. You usually have a pretty good indicator of what you're looking at in terms of who gonna make the Sweet 16 on the women's side, because usually, at least until the last few years, it was kind of okay. These 8, 9 teams are clearly better than anybody in this middle, and these last few teams, they just lucky to be here. Not so much like that now. I think it's more like there's like a 10 to 12 team range where anything could happen. Then, like in the middle, is like another 10, 12 teams that could make it interesting. And then everybody else kind of okay, but maybe might just be any given Sunday type day for them. Now, that being said, most of the number one seeds, pretty much all the number one seeds on the women's side, should not have a big problem this particular weekend. Number one seeds for the women are, of course, Texas, UCLA, USC, and South Carolina. Those are your 4 number one seeds. Don't see any problem with them for the most part getting into the Sweet 16. You got your 2 seeds and whatnot. UConn, of course, my squad that I keep up with. You know, I'm a big UConn Lady Huskies fan. They are the overall number 1, number 2 seed, and I don't see them having a difficult weekend either. I think they can make it that far. The key for a lot of the good women's teams this year is going to be how they end up matching up in that second round. And understand that I felt it was very unfair that UConn and USC ended up being in the same bracket, to where if it comes down to that next weekend, they will play each other in the Elite Eight. Keep in mind, those same 2 teams played each other last year in the Final Four, and it was an excellent game, very good game that UConn basically couldn't quite get over the hump for. But I think it might be a different story this time around. They did play each other earlier in the year, and it was a good game again. USC did win. Juju did her thing. Juju Watkins, of course, is the name that most people will recognize on the women's side. You know, remember last year it was all about Caitlin Clark and some Angel Reese thrown in. This year's more about Juju and a couple other people's names you could throw in there. Of course, there is that kid Paige Beckers, who looking like the number 1 overall pick this year on the WNBA side. And then, of course, you have the person who I think could be the player of the year, if not Juju Watkins. That, of course, will be Hannah Hidalgo over there at Notre Dame. When I did my bracket, when all was said and done, I actually picked them to win it all. I got Notre Dame winning it. Am I very confident about that pick? Can't say that I am. I mean, it's hard this year. Like I said, it depends on how it goes. Okay, I'm gonna pretty much give you about 7, 8 teams where I think it's a path to where they could make it, but it depends on certain factors. For example, let's talk about Notre Dame. Notre Dame, when playing well, is a very, very good shooting team, particularly from 3-point land. They are also a very good defensive team, particularly on the perimeter. They have perhaps the 2 best guard combo in women's college basketball right now. When you talk about Hannah Hidalgo and a person that's going to be a lottery pick on the WNBA draft, and Olivia Miles. Keep in mind, last year did not have Olivia Miles, and Hidalgo was a little banged up, and they still made out pretty good in the tourney. I think they will definitely make out better this year. If they're on all cylinders, that and that kid Sonia Citron on that squad, they got Ella King. They got a lot of good bench players on that squad, pretty deep, about at least 9 deep. They all playing like they could play. I can see them making the Final Four real easy. The issue is that some nights they have those nights where the defense is good, but the shooting get kind of cold. And if they get that way against certain teams, it's probably not going to happen, okay? If they can keep the shooting good and Hidalgo and Miles do their thing, they're going to be a very hard team to contend with, okay? Let's look at a team like, let's go to my Lady Huskies. Granted, number 2 seed, they would have to get past at least USC, and I think then they have to get past perhaps South Carolina to get that far. Beat South Carolina earlier. I mean, beat the snot out South Carolina, by the way. Could I see them beating them again if they play? It's possible. I mean, over the course of the year, Lady Huskies got better, particularly defensively. Definitely some good shooters on that squad when you think about Paige Beckers, AZ Fudd, and of course the freshman of the year in my mind, Sarah Strong. You put them three together, they do some outstanding work. The key for them is they got to get more contributions off that bench, particularly from people like KK Arnold. And the key is for them to get some type of good play from the bigs, in particular, Jenna Alfie, 6'5" forward center that they have sophomore, and Ice Brady. If they can get some good play out of them in the post, because some of the teams they play gonna have some big people and they're gonna have to step up. If they get that, they can make a nice little run of their own. If they don't get too much from them and the bench don't contribute like they need to, I can see them winning the first few rounds. Then when they get to that 8 and they play USC, it's probably going to be over for them. We got teams like Texas. Like Texas a lot. Texas got a couple good bigs on that squad. The key for them is Madison Booker, sophomore. The thing about Madison is when she owns, she owns. She is one of the best 10 players in women's college basketball. It's not consistent enough, though. It seems like when they get to some of the bigger games, teams focus on her, shut her down somewhat. That happens. Texas ain't going to be long for this tourney world, okay? Got to get good play there, and then they got to keep getting some stuff from that bench. They play good defense, not great defense. A great defensive team against them, and they slow down a couple of scores. They pretty much can pull that off. You got team like LSU. Keeper LSU is one. There's that kid, Kyler Williams, sophomore. She a scorer, y'all. If you've not seen that kid play, you gotta watch. Because some nights she will grab the ball like, I got this. I don't give a damn I'm a sophomore. I'm taking this over. Then, of course, you got one of the better players in the country, the junior Flau'jae Johnson, rapper slash basketball superstar. She's been hurt and did not play much these last few weeks. Hopefully she is healthy enough to be a good contributor on that squad. They got to get some good play from that bench, though. If they don't get much from that bench, LSU probably get to 16, and it's going to be kind of hard for them after that. You got a team, of course, like the national champions, South Carolina. They went undefeated last year. Didn't do that this year. Had some games where they didn't show up, like that game against UConn. Didn't handle proper business. When they play up to their full potential, they're as good as any team in the country. No doubt about it. Got to get more play from the starters. The bench actually is what carries them some nights. Particularly that kid they call Fu Wiley. Malaysia Fu Wiley, the sophomore from South Carolina. She has some games where they put her in and she is the spark plug of all spark plugs. She takes over games with her defense and her energy. But then they have other games she come in and it's like, I'm about to throw up 20 shots. They go in, they don't. She had that mentality about it. Start making the stupid turnovers that she can make from time to time. That's not a good dude. That's not going to work out well for them. Got to have her playing consistent. Got to get some consistent play from the starters for them to get to that next level. Another team to watch out for, of course, is USC. The team led by far the best player overall in college basketball, and Juju Watkins. I still feel like Hidalgo had a slightly better year than her. I wouldn't be mad, though, if either her or her end up being National Player of the Year. Long story short, it's her and Iaframe. Kiki Iaframe, the transfer from Stanford, had a good season. She is type player that when Juju having an offshoot night, and it happens a little bit more than you would think, that get her the ball, she can help get it in till Juju make a few more. Understand, if Juju is doing Juju to the fullest, she is the hardest one-on-one player to cover in America, no doubt. And I'm talking about male or female, okay? yes, understand we had Caitlin Clark last year. She was primarily, though, a shooter from range, although she was pretty good at distributing the ball and had some triple-double type skills. Juju not only is a good player offensively, but what people sleep on with her is she is also a good defensive player as well. Has many as 8 blocks in the game this year. If she puts that into her bag and decides, okay, by any juju necessary, I'm gonna make this happen. If they get that going and they find ways to get her the ball when she starts to get double team, triple team, she goes to the line a lot. Yeah, USC gonna be a problem for any team in America. And I do mean any team. Another team, of course, you gotta look out for is UCLA, who actually did beat USC in the tournament that was the Big Ten. Crazy that USC and UCLA is in the Big Ten. Still getting used to that. But yeah, they pulled it off, although they did lose twice to USC in the regular season. They do have some things on that UCLA squad. You gotta look out for, particularly Lauren Betts, best junior senior type lady in America in terms of the post, 6'7". You basically get her to establish the post. It's very few people in America can stop her when she got it going in the post. Okay, Kiki Rice is also on that squad. Good player. Also got some good perimeter shooters on that squad. Decent defending squad as well. They were number one for several weeks this week for a reason. I'm imagining you will see that throughout the tournament. Again, depending on what teams they end up with in the Final Four and championship, they could be right there winning it. They could be out maybe after the 8. Who knows? A lot of very good teams, like I said, on the women's side. The key for them is who matches up with who once we start to get into that 16 and the 8 and so on and so forth. So may not be as interesting this weekend on the women's side, but when we get to the 16 next week, yeah, it should be a lot of good matchups going into that part of the tournament. And hopefully that's the case for the men. So, yep, like I said, looking forward to the tournament, men and women. Check it out. Let us know what you think. When we come back next week, we'll talk about what we saw and kick it about that there. All right, good people, we're going to take a commercial break. When we come back to the Big Buck Sports Report, going to switch it up a little bit and talk some pro basketball, in particular the NBA, okay? Oh, I hate when that happens on the air, particularly when you the producer and you can't do nothing but soak it up because you the talent as well. Be like that sometimes. Anyway, we'll be back. This is Big Buck Sports Report. We'll be back after these words from Nighthawk Network. Nighthawk Network. Our voices, our people.
Hello, hello, hello. It's another glorious day, my T-Steppers, and you know what time it is. I hope you have all of your comfort together because it's time to dish tea. And your dishes, darlings, with Big Meat.
Can't wait. It's time to dish tea with Big Meat. It's time to dish tea with Big Meat. It's time to dish tea with Big Meat. It's time to dish tea with Big Meat.
Darling.
All right, y'all. We are back to the Big Buck Sports Report. Your boy E-Buck in the building. We got through talking tourney. Now we're going to talk NBA, okay? Right now, we are in the midst of the NBA season. We got about 12 games left in the season. And right now, we've already established some of our playoff teams. Let's talk about that. Pretty much right now, the teams in the playoffs are the big three in terms of this season. Two of those teams, 40-plus games over 500. So at this point, unless they just lose everything, they pretty much the number one seed. That, of course, would be on the east side, Cleveland Cavaliers, and on the west side, OKC Thunder, okay? Those two teams already have clinched playoff spots. On the east side, we also have the Boston Celtics, who have clinched the playoff spots. So right now, we got three definite playoff teams. Now, before we get into it, I want to congratulate my Detroit Pistons, who actually, let's see how they did tonight, but based on their current record, are at least a shoe-in to make the play-in game at this point, and understand what a monumental thing that is. Right now, they actually are in a very close game with the Heat, down one with about 3.5 minutes to go. So hopefully they pull that out. If so, they will be 39-31. Remember, when we talked about it on our season preview, I pretty much expected them to have one of the worst records in the NBA and wouldn't even be close at all. Clearly, that did not happen that way. Very thankful for that. 38 wins are way more wins than I thought this team would have, okay? I figured at the very best they get 25. So for them to actually have 38 wins and actually be in line to make the playoffs, major accomplishment. Definitely see Bernie Bickerstaff, coach of the Pistons, as a potential, if not the coach of the year, because he has done a phenomenal job getting those kids to buy in, giving them some mental toughness they didn't have, giving them some structure that they didn't have under Monty Williams last year. Lord knows what he's doing with that 80-plus million that he's still getting paid by the Pistons. Yeah, I think he's still getting paid by Phoenix Suns. That's crazy. Crazy work how some of that work out. But nonetheless, Pistons gonna make the playoffs. That's a good thing. All right, we got some comment here. Let me see what we got. Road to Stardom in the building. What's going on, Road? Thank you for checking in. For those of you not familiar, Road is a longtime supporter of the show and all the shows here on the Night where we appreciate her very much. Happy National Women's Month to you, Road. Definitely, if you get time, even if you don't get time, make some time, okay? Make some time. I do. To check out Road's newest project. It is the show known as Speaking Freely with Miss Giga, where it is a podcast pretty much every day, every other day, where she talks about different things she got going on in terms of her creative or things going on in the world and her perspective on it. Definitely a good listen. It's a mini pod, much like my mini pod that I'm doing. Listen to your Uncle E. There'll be a new episode of that sometime next 24, 48 hours. Check them out. Give you a couple giggles, give you some things to think about. We appreciate y'all. You can find both of those, both Speaking Freely with Ms. Gigo and Listen to Your Uncle E on Spotify. And of course, for most of you, there is a free version of Spotify. You don't have to pay. Just go on Spotify, look up our pods, check them out, listen to them. Make sure you comment in the comment section so we know you was there. And we'd like to know your thoughts on what we've been talking about, okay? Could you do that for us? Appreciate you. Thank you. Anyway, moving on back to the show. We are talking NBA playoff chase. Like I said, right now, those three teams are in Boston, Cleveland, OKC. Those three teams are the teams that most people are picking to win the NBA championship. Hard pressed not to, particularly in the case of OKC and, of course, Cleveland, because, like I said, over 40 games above 500. Both teams have had long win streaks, particularly Cleveland. They had 2 streaks of 15-plus games in a row where they have won. Usually teams that go on long runs like that tend to do very well in the playoffs and are more than likely your contenders for championships. Now, other teams that's been doing pretty decent of late, teams like the Golden State Warriors, they've won 8 out of 10. Ever since the Jimmy Butler trade, that's worked out pretty good for them right now. They are in the midst of that playoff run. We all know that the Lakers are without LeBron James. He's been out for a couple weeks now. They've been kind of so without him. He should be back sometime next week, they say. Definitely look for them to go on a little run. They will make the playoffs. What they do in the playoffs, we shall see. It's been all bad for Dallas. It's to the point now where it's been a couple nights they've been in danger of not being able to play at all, lacking enough players that are healthy to actually put on the court. I don't understand how that works when teams got G League teams and it's a contract money thing. Some of those things, you know. But anyway, yeah, ever since that Luka trade, it's been all bad for them. No Kyrie for the rest of the year. Still got Anthony Davis out. Big men in the bench still hurting. More people getting hurt every day, it seems like. Bad dude for Dallas. Same for San Antonio. They getting more and more people hurt over there. Bad finish up for them. Might be good in terms of the lottery pick, but who knows? Okay, Road is saying, hold on. Rose says, I think Cleveland can take it all the way and get without LeBron being on the team. And would be kind of interesting, Rose, if in the end we end up with Cleveland on the east side and the Lakers somehow make it out the west, where LeBron has to go back to Cleveland in order to win another championship. That could get really interesting. That being said, if I had to pick a team right now to win it all, I'm probably going with the team who won last year. That, of course, would be the Boston Celtics. My only concern for them is the fact that they are primarily a three-point shooting team. I mean, it seems like ever since they played Golden State in the finals a couple years ago and got beat by them, they've changed the plan to, okay, we're going to D up good, and when we get the ball, we're going to shoot it from three. Got to admit, at times, you watch those games in Boston, and it's like, okay, I can't stand this. 12 straight possessions, they shot the three. If you are an old school basketball watcher like myself, that three-point shooting type of game, the back and forth, it's hard. Okay, Rose said Boston, Cleveland finals. Keep in mind, Rose, Boston and Cleveland on the same side on the East, so the best they could do would be the Eastern Conference Finals and play each other, and then the winner of that would make it to the NBA Finals. You got the East and the West, so of course on the West side, OKC got the best record, but a lot of people having trouble seeing OKC make it to the finals because they are such a young team. Like I said, there are actually a couple teams in the NCAA with players as old as some of the players on that OKC squad. I think the oldest player on that squad is maybe 30, I want to say. And for NBA standards, that's pretty young. It really is. But remember, last year, OKC was the number one seed, played some good until they ran into Denver. Denver got it done. Then the whole Minnesota, so on and so forth. Minnesota Timberwolves, Denver Nuggets, they'll be in the mix over there in the West some kind of way. On the East, you got the Knicks in third. You got, I think, Milwaukee in fourth right now. Not so much Pacers. And I don't see them really making any major contributions on that to where, yeah, we're going to look at one of them. Like I said, in the end, I think it's pretty much either Boston and Cleveland on the East side and probably OKC and or Denver Lakers, one of them. We will see. But at least the players getting better. Like I said, except for those games where you're watching, it's all that three-point shooting. It's hard to watch NBA action, okay? Now, while we talk professional basketball, I would be remiss to not mention what went on in that league known as the Unrivaled League, where they actually had the playoffs this weekend. And shout out to the Rose Squad. The Rose Squad is the team that ended up winning the first ever Unrivaled League in the finals. They are the winners. Keeping in mind they had the second best record in the league. The team with the first best record actually lost in the semifinal. I was actually surprised that the Lunar Isles lost and did not make it to the finals. Shout out, however, to their leader, Nafisha Collier, who ended up winning MVP of the Unrivaled League. Remember, if that name's familiar, first of all, she went to that team, UConn, won the national championship there. Then, of course, she played for Minnesota. They almost did a little something against the New York Liberty last year. Didn't quite make it. But then, of course, she got to Unrivaled League. She is one of the founders. She also not only won MVP, but, of course, was the one-on-one champion in that league, if you remember that. And she had a very good season. She had a very good season indeed. But it was the Rose who actually won the championship. And who was on that team? Of course, you had the point guard, Chelsea Gray, that was on that team. Shout out to Chelsea Gray. Rose agrees. Keep in mind, Chelsea Gray was the finals MVP. Had some great turning. Still showing that she still got game in her 30s. And, of course, on that squad was, of course, the one and only Angel Reese, who actually didn't play in the championship game, but had a pretty good season, was voted the Defensive Player of the Year in the Unrivaled League. Hopefully that success will carry over to her season in the WNBA. Not overly enthralled with what they got in terms of personnel over there for the Chicago Sky this year. Made maybe too many changes, I feel like, that particular squad. But, of course, a lot of squads did in the W. So when we get to that point, which is only about a month away, actually, it's going to be real interesting to see how we predict who's going to do what over there. Like I said, most of the teams over there, they done switched up a lot. I mean a lot. I think they should add 2 more teams. Actually, Rod, they will be adding more teams to the W. It's been announced, of course, that this year we got the newest team, Golden State Valkyries, who will be playing this season. And then next season you will have the Toronto Tempo. One of the owners of Toronto Tempo has been announced is, of course, the great Serena Williams. She is one of the partial owners of that squad. And then, of course, Portland has a team as well. I believe that starts the following year as well. There are other teams trying to get in the mix. Cleveland will be granted a franchise, I believe, the following year. Detroit is still trying to work on a WNBA franchise. They one of the majority owners for that franchise. That dude Eminem linking up with people like Chris Webber and a couple other folks to try to get a franchise back here in Detroit. There is a second women's league, by the way, that is restarting this year. I forget the name of it, but Detroit does have a franchise in that one. Once I get that information, we will give it to you. You know, we are big promoters of women's sports here on the show and want to show it much love indeed. Okay? But yeah, looking forward to playoff basketball once we get done with the madness. Okay, got to get that done first. Now, of course, one of my other loves, perhaps my first love, truly, MLB. Let's talk about that for a minute, shall we? MLB 25, not talking about the game, but the game, as in the Major League Baseball season, which normally starts in April, that first week or so. But guess what, y'all? It has actually technically already started. We had our 2 first games in the MLB season being played last night, well, basically early yesterday morning, early Monday morning, because those games took place in Tokyo, Japan, in the Tokyo Dome, as the Chicago Cubs took on the world champion Los Angeles Dodgers way over there in Tokyo, Japan. Both of those games played here in the States at 6 in the morning Eastern Standard Time, okay? I was lucky enough to catch part of one because I was up. The other one didn't make that one. But, yeah. How was preseason? Well, actually, preseason's still going on in baseball, mind you. It's a little crazy setup. I guess in order for them to pull that off, they had to start those 2 games a couple weeks before the actual season to get them in over in Tokyo. I'm not quite sure the thought process behind that, but keep in mind, because it is the Dodgers, and the Dodgers now have quite a few players, I think at least 5, I want to say, that are of Japanese descent. They wanted to have them go over there and kind of showcase themselves, as they tend to do from time to time. Remember back in the day when they had Ichiro Suzuki? Well, Dodgers did, but Ichiro, he was a thing, and they had him play over there. Now, of course, the best baseball player in baseball right now, that of course would be that kid Shohei Ohtani on the Dodgers. Made it make sense for them to go over there, and he had a big old thing while he was there. Actually played pretty good in both of those games. Hit a home run in that second game, so he already is the league leader in home runs again. Already with the one. But yeah, batting 375 in 2 games. The question of the day, of course, is what is he going to do when he gets back on the mound? Okay. If they get any type of good on top of what he's been doing offensively with him pitching on the mound, it's going to be hard pressed not to see them going back to the World Series this year. But we will do our preview for baseball in another week or two once spring training officially ends for everybody. And we'll talk about it then. Hopefully my Tigers will do pretty good right now. Spring training, they're like 10-10, something like that. Most of the teams kind of not a lot of eye-opening stuff going on in spring training outside of that, truthfully. We'll see how it plays out, okay? But yeah, looking forward to the baseball season. Was unable to really get to any games last year. Hopefully we'll try to catch a couple this year. Just love the game, man. Have loved it since I was a little kid, man. Definitely. Shout out to the judge in a baseball related story who reinstated on the government website the story of Jackie Robinson's military service for whatever reason. Basically, it was taken off the website recently as a part of the new Get Rid of DEI initiative of the federal government, who's basically trying to pretty much eliminate anything DEI related. And of course, it comes off as just being a very racist thing, because DEI initiatives are designed to help people of color and people of gender get jobs that they normally would not have the privy to do. And a lot of these programs are getting eliminated by the government and the whole Doge thing. We will have that discussion on the show known as I Am Nighthawk. We'll talk about that. Probably do that show on Sunday and talk about this whole Doge thing and how it's supposed to be a good thing, but it kind of ain't, and how we can kind of Doge our own life to a degree. What am I talking about? Check out the show. We'll talk about it, okay? Anyway, other things going on in sports. Of course, NHL season is coming down to the playoffs. The Red Wings, it ain't looking too good for them of late. They just don't seem to have what it's going to take to get them over the hump. Again, no dominant team in the NHL this year so far, so don't have that. The big thing that we are keeping an eye on, though, of course, is Alex Ovechkin and his chase of becoming the all-time leading goal scorer in NHL history. He is now 8 goals away from tying and passing the great one himself, Wayne Gretzky, to become the all-time leading scorer of goals in the in the NHL. He got about 12 games left, something like that, to do it. It's going to be kind of tight. I still think he could pull it off, but it's going to be kind of tight. He definitely going to have like a game or two where he goes off. Understand, Ovechkin, I believe, is 38 years old, so his team is playing good, though. They will make the playoffs. Does he have a chance at a second Stanley Cup? We shall see. Keep in mind, the thing about NHL, particularly in these last decade or so, if you are the team with the best record in the NHL, it's almost a given that you are not going to win the cup. Pretty much any team that wins that President Trophy, which you get in the NHL for having the best record, yeah, that's a bad dude. And speaking of records, we're going to talk just a little bit of football. Keep in mind, we still got the free agent signings going on. If you want to keep up with that, by all means, you want to go to the Sports Guru to You page over there on Facebook. My good buddy Hugh Lee runs that page. He will give you all the latest on the trade rumors and NFL signings and whatnot in terms of who's going where and doing what. He definitely talks about that on his Guru's Perspective as well. So if you want to check that out, that's usually airing on Tuesdays on Facebook and YouTube. Check out the Hugh Lee page on YouTube or the Dale Lee page on Facebook for that. But yeah, an interesting proposal was brought up by the Lions organization in terms of a change they want to make for the playoffs. What is that change? Well, basically what they want to do is they want to have it now to where after everybody makes the playoffs, the team with the best overall record, of course, is the number one seed and will have home field advantage throughout the playoffs. They want that part to stay. What they want to do after that is the playoffs will be reseeded every week after the play to determine who has the best record of the teams that's left and let that team have the advantage of being the home team moving forward. So in other words, it's kind of similar to how the WNBA is set up to where when they have playoffs, each round they go by who has the best overall record of the teams that's left, and that determines who is at that point the number one team and gets to have the teams play them as opposed to you go play them. So that you're not like a 13-4 team and you now have to go on the road and play. So that basically it matters more in the regular season that you win as many games as possible than it does now. Remember last year at 15-2, they had the best overall record, but then right behind them, you had the team that was Minnesota Vikings at 14-3. And they basically end up being a road team because they did not win the division. Kind of wasn't fair, considering that they were the team that won the second most games in the league, you know? Then, of course, the whole situation with Kansas City, where they pretty much said the hell with that last game and took out all the starters and whatnot. If they were 16-1 instead of 15-2, that would matter more if you are the team with the best record, period. You know? So that's something they're going to look at. They will figure it out. They say more than likely that proposal probably not going to get much of anywhere. They're pretty much going to keep it the way it is more than likely, but you never know. I kind of like the idea, but we'll see where it goes. Anyway, that is that much. There are many other sports starting to jump off now. Remember, we got baseball coming online. We're about to start to get to the golf majors soon. The Masters start, of course, in a few weeks. You got, what else? You got MLS starting. Well, it's already started, actually. And they've been showing a lot of those games on Fox during the weekend. Probably won't see as much of that in the next couple weeks because of the basketball. But you got that going on. You got the Women's Soccer League jumping off. Several other professional leagues that we're not quite as familiar with. Definitely you want to check out your ESPNs and your ESPN Women's and whatnot. It'll put you up on stuff that you just didn't know was going on. If you want to watch something a little different than your usual basketball, baseball, football, hockey. So yeah, by all means, check it out. Let us know what you want us to talk about. We'll kick it with you about that once we read up and study up on it ourselves, okay? That's how that goes. Again, shout out to my buddy Hugh Lee. Hopefully you get everything you need done, and you'll be back next week for us. Also, again, this is National Women's Month. So shout out to our lady viewers, particularly those of you who are owners of businesses or got your own hustle going on. We definitely want to shine a light on you this month and encourage people to buy with you or shop with you or utilize your services. That would be a good thing. So if you got those type of people in your life, hook them up. You know? Anyway, good people, that's going to do it for this episode of the Gurus. No, see, I'm so used to doing it now. My bad. This is the Big Buck Sports Report. I'm E-Buck, the Big Buck himself. Thank you for listening. Looking forward to watching those games this weekend. Go blue, go blue. Go UConn Lady Huskies. Go whoever your team is, and hopefully they will do well unless they're playing one of mine, in which case, I want it. I want it. Anyway, we about this piece, baby. You know what we do at this time. We go ahead, we find the clothes, we throw the fingers up, and we say, deuces.